Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on the video. This is Real Housewives of Atlanta, and it's season 7, and this is episode 19 and 20. I actually put the two together. I was kind of late doing 19, so I decided to just go ahead and run the two together, which was cool because both episodes were, I don't want to say they're boring, but there wasn't a whole lot that took place. So we can actually run them together and I won't be talking to you too long. So, the first thing in episode 19 was like a shade alert. Nene and Bravo also know that Nene actually has a condition that she can't stay in flight for very long. There's some type of chemical imbalance or something that she has where she can't stay on really long flights. So there's no way that she was actually going to be able to go to Manila. So, I think it's an 18-hour flight. So, no real big deal. Did she really want to go on the flight with the ladies anyway? She didn't. She really didn't. Now, this is what brings me to how I ended up running both of these together. We spent 2 episodes basically figuring out that Nene is a lot of the problem, which we already knew that the ladies could actually go somewhere, spend time together without Nene, and still have a good time. Now, they still kept bringing her up through both episodes. They kept bringing up Nene. Anybody talks to Nene? Anybody talks to Nene? And this whole thing. But basically, they went on off. They were having a great time, getting along with each other and trying to mend fences and all of this kind of carried on. In the meantime, in between time, Nene is back in New York. As she, one time we see her, she's meeting with the casting director to go over like accents when they're talking, because she's playing in Cinderella. Cinderella it's a period piece, even more so, it's a fantasy piece. So they had to go over the accents and things, and she was asking the casting director, well, I want to throw a little Nene or Nene up in there. And he's like, hey, listen, anybody got no time for that. You talk the way we told you to talk and shut the fuck up. We don't need none of that ghetto shit laid up on top of it. Ain't no ghetto in the fantasy land. There's no fantasy ghetto land. We're not even trying to do all that. I thought that was ridiculous, but that was classic Nene. Always trying to do a little bit too much. Let's see. Claudia was basically leading the bunch. Claudia planned the trip and all of that. Claudia and Portia. One nice thing that Claudia kind of stretched out there, being as though all of the hard times have been fallen on at this point by Phaedra. She pushed it out there as she pushed for Phaedra to have the best room. As you know, they usually always fight over the rooms and stuff. Claudia put out there for Phaedra to have the best room. It was a real nice room and everything. And I thought that was nice. You know, it was a nice gesture. She immediately went ahead. The first day she wanted Phaedra to have lunch with her while the girls were like resting and getting themselves together. And they did. And I kind of laughed. I was like, okay, you know, I'm always got my eye on that Claudia. But she's being very nice. And she basically opened up to Phaedra about her failed marriage and different things that she went through and that kind of thing. And I had to laugh because, you know, Phaedra is so damn stoic. She really is. She is so stoic. They went through and she was like, you know, this is the point where I just couldn't, I was like, what am I doing here? I got to get out of this marriage, blah, blah, blah. Well, what part of your marriage brought you to that point? And Phaedra looked at her and said, I'm really not getting ready to discuss that with you. I sat there and laughed. I said, you'd have been just as nice, honey. She ain't talking to your ass about nothing, you slick goddamn snake. But anyway, they did all that. Then Phaedra and Kandi had a moment where they went to have their feet done. And while they were there, they literally started just talking about the whole thing of their relationship and how it's kind of fallen down and how Nene is now Phaedra's go-to person, and you can tell Kandi's very unhappy about that. And also this whole being an advocate for Cynthia and that kind of thing. And They were just going through all of that stuff. You know, what I got from Kandi reminds me of a person who, she wants to be your only friend. That ain't necessary. People can have more than one friend, Kandi. Back off. You know, but they seem to have cleared everything up, and they're pretty cool. They're cool. But again, Phaedra's so stoic. You never know what's going on behind that stone wall she calls a face, honey. So it's like, I see her. You know, I have my moments. You know, I'm not always easy. I have my moments, especially when my feelings have been hurt or I feel like you've double-crossed me. Yeah. Are we cool? Yeah, we cool. Meanwhile, I might not even want to be bothered. And it'll come out. You know, so I see you, Phaedra. I see you. Mean ass. I understand. Anyway, funniest thing in the whole episode 19, they were a group doing yoga. Now, you know, I'm a good tired ass, okay? Lord, no, I can sit up. I try to do what I can. And I sit up. I'll sit up and fall right to sleep. So, they were in a yoga class. Kandi, first of all, nasty as she is and claims to be, with all her dildos and butt plugs and all her shit that she got going on, and her vibrating lipsticks and fake dicks and extra fingers and all this shit. She's a stiff ass. You know, we've seen her on the internet doing splits and carrying on, but for whatever reason, she could not do these yoga moves. Poor thing, I mean, just stuck up in it. Couldn't do it. And then they do this one thing, they're doing like a relaxing thing, they're laying on the ground. Y'all, when I tell you I looked over there and that damn Kandi was snoring. Snoring, do you hear me? I said, if that ain't me, oh, that would be me. That would be so me. I'm like, that is so horrible. She's snoring. They laughing and kikiing at her. Child, then they, you know, she wakes up out of it. How did she go? Turn to the side like she still doing the exercise. Bitch, they see you, bitch. You were snoring, eh? Oh, there's nothing more embarrassing than to fall asleep and wake up, honey, and the room is given. You tired, honey? I laughed at that so goddamn bad. That was for me, that was the best moment of season 7, episode 19, was her big ass laying over there on that floor asleep, supposed to be doing yoga. I screamed. Anyway, you know, as we went through, it was the normal. Cynthia continued with all her confessional shade. I can't wait till all that shit catch up with her. That's going to be hilarious. And all of that there. Claudia was trying to be the mediator at the dinner. They were trying to push people to talk. And it was more Phaedra. You know you can't push Phaedra to talk. Phaedra will talk when she wants to talk. And that's basically it. And you know she can ignore your whole presence. So that's kind of what was going on. And they tried to hush up Portia at one point. Portia got all offended. Was like, listen, I'm not being hushed. This, that, thing, and the other. It's like, okay, Portia, calm down. And no clothes wearing hoe. You know, everything. And you're with a whole group of women. Why is everything tight, short? You know, I just don't get it. That Portia, but that's her. Such a classy chick. You know, she's real classy. You know you're classy when you walk by and I smell your pussy. Yeah, you're classy. And not because it's stinking, but I smell it because your skirt is so short that there's only this much space in between it and my nose. So when you walk by, the breeze blows it right up in my nose because you're such a classy chick. I'm just saying. Ridiculous. Anyway, on to episode 20. Okay? Now, in episode 20, Phaedra and Kenya decide to actually have a sit down and hash through their problems privately. About time. Well, they tried some things, you know, and that was Cynthia and Phaedra. How Phaedra walked out on Cynthia, but we'll said, okay, we'll see. Nabby asked group. They said Nabby. They just kept asking about it. Nabbing. But anyway, Kenya and Phaedra finally have to sit down. Phaedra started off being Phaedra, emotionless and everything like that. But then they ended up like going ahead and really talking and really getting down to the root of the problem, going all the way back all that time and getting down to the root of the problem. And here, Kenya, I thought Kenya was asking a whole lot. I really did. You want me to forgive for everything that you did. Forgive for everything that was said and everything that was heard and all the thought. No. Now, the best I could do, I could let it go for right now and move on. But, But Phaedra explained to her, it's hard. It's very hard to let all that go, honey. We're talking about my husband and you playing games with my husband, And then she was going back and forth about how she really didn't do that. And she really didn't want to let it go. She wanted her, she's begging her to trust her and to know that she's trustworthy, but you're not trustworthy. Kenya, you're not. Now you're saying that you did not sleep with Apollo. You never had fellatio with Apollo. You never seen him out of town, this, that, thing, and the other, blah, 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 blah. But there are things that you did do that were questionable. And I don't believe it anyway. There's nobody can make me believe that there was never any physical contact between Apollo and Kenya. That's just my personal thing. She could say no till she's blue in the face. It just don't sit right with me. And I could understand if it didn't sit right with Phaedra, because I'm not even in it. Apollo ain't my husband. But see, I'm a little bit different than Phaedra. I would have smacked Kenya's face 42 times a long time ago about it. If she hadn't done it, she might as well have done it, because I'd already had done slapped her about it. I know I would have. When it comes to affairs of my heart, I don't play them games. And I'm not one that's so quick to fight over a mate. That's not my thing. But Kenya was a disrespectful bitch who loved it, who thought it was cute, who thought it was really cute to hang in there on that line of, oh, yeah, maybe I am fucking your man. Oh, maybe I'm not. See, I'm not ready to fight over him, but I will fight you over disrespecting me, bitch. And if my mind has to wander, so do your weave and your hair and your earrings and your eyelids and all that. I would have been cold-cocked that bitch. I'm just telling you what God loves. So, it is what it is. But anyway, what was funny in their conversation, she said, you called me a whore? I'm so sick of that. She said, I didn't call you a whore this year. I did call you Satan, but I didn't call you no whore this year. I said, oh, Lord have mercy. Child, that was a kiki at best. But anyway, they went ahead. They really did. They hugged it out. And I was like, I didn't know how I was going to feel about that. But I was like, okay, cool. Cool. Clean the slate, because Kenya's going to do something else. Because that's who she is. She's going to do something else, because that's what people do. I have to do another video. I think I've done 90 videos about forgiveness. Child, listen. I ain't a fan, okay? Whatever. Don't care about how nobody feel about it either. I ain't a fan of forgiveness. I know it ain't right, and I don't give a shit. So y'all can write all that down in the comments, and that'll just force me to make another video on forgiveness and how I don't, all I can go by is what I've learned in my 43 years here. Forgiveness is a hot ass mess. But anyway, I try to work on it every day, but I ain't seen it really worked out yet. Anyway, moving the fuck on. Kandi's grabby ass, as soon as they come out of meeting with each other and going through their so what happened? This, that, thing, and the other. Child, Phaedra gave her very much of, if you were meant to be there, you would have been there. And they kept asking them that throughout. Like other ones kept asking. So what was it? It was a private meeting for a reason. You Debbie whores. Just crazy. But anyway, that was the basis of what went on in that whole episode, is that they had the whole thing with her and Phaedra and Kenya. That was the basis of the whole episode. So that was really cool. It was fun, and it really was positive. The ending of that was positive. The trip was good. They ended on a good high note. But that Kandi, just watch Kandi. Kandi she's a killjoy. So she keeps bringing up the past. Like every 5 minutes when they were like having fun and laughing at Key or Kenya and Phaedra sitting next to each other, here she goes. Now, who would have thought that y'all could sit next to it? Shut the fuck up, Kandi, bitch. Who the fuck would have thought that you just threw your dress ain't even got cleaned yet and you can't get no dick from Todd? Who would have thought about that? The fuck up, simple ass. Anyway, moving on. Nene is in New York, meeting with the costume designer at the costume designer's loft. There was some, I was kind of like not paying Nene that much attention. Sorry. But the costumes were beautiful, and the work that we put into the costume, gorgeous. And the sketches, I was getting life off of that. Nene was about irritating the fuck out of me. She was so, like, I was embarrassed for her, the way she was acting. She didn't have enough sense to know that she was being embarrassing and ghetto. I was embarrassed for her, ignorant ass. But yeah, they showed the costumes real nice. And that last part of the trip, they were on a farm. You know, in the first part of the trip, they had came at the beginning of this episode. They literally had went over to a hotel in Manila called the Shangri-La, and that's where they were hanging out at. I thought that was really funny. Then they were down on the strip at one point. That was funny too. Down on the strip, and Kenya's down there twirling against the Filipino girls, the tranny girls, and give all that twirl and shit. I said, oh Lord, here you go. Just a mess. But anyway, the trip turned out good. They saw that they could really have a good time without Queen Beastly Nene being mean and stuff. So I don't know what their decision is going to be. Honestly, if they really are being true to what they've really learned, they would all basically come back to Atlanta and don't fucking be speaking to Nene. Or trying to fix it. Act like the fuck she ain't there. Like she wasn't there and y'all had a great time. Now that would be my take. If I went all the way to Manila, 18 hours away, and everything was hunky-dory without Nutball Sally, I would come back and fuck with Nene. But they won't. They'll come back and she'll start stirring up shit and carrying it on. But whatever. And like I said, I'm not a fan of any of the ladies, specifically in this program, or Nene. Everybody's fine. I love them and hate them all equally across the board on here. Now, I don't really like Kenya, so maybe not equally, but just the same. You could see that Nene is the problem. Her attitude just doesn't fit into the group. Her attitude causes friction in the environment whenever she's around. You could see it. Sad but true. All right, guys. So anyway, that's it. So you can thumbs up or thumbs down the video. You guys know how that works. And I will definitely see you guys. We'll be back on track on Sunday for the next episode. Bye, guys.